champion watched by millions of adoring fans. Now, his new reality is Zod Arahan. He is a 15-year-old kid, born into the most prestigious mage family in the entire empire, but he's been cast out and completely disgraced. Why? Because he has absolutely zero mana. Zilch. And to make matters worse, he hasn't just been politely exiled, he's been thrown into the notoriously brutal Butcher Prison, completely surrounded by people who actively want him dead. Section 1, Reborn in Butcher Prison, Stocking Rocks and Maxing Stats. Okay, so Zad's miserable new life basically consists of doing meaningless, backbreaking hard labor. We're talking stacking heavy rocks all day just to get a terrible prison meal, all while making enemies out of just about every magic-wielding inmate in the yard. But he's not entirely flying solo. He actually strikes up a really unlikely alliance with this street-smart thief named Rio. And right in the middle of this grueling fight for survival, Zad discovers an absolute game-changer. A literal status window pops up. Now, his mana still sits at a pathetic absolute 0, sure, but his physical stats, strength, agility, luck, perception, they are completely maxed out at level 100. Plus, he has these insane S-rank immunity traits, which basically means he's totally immune to physical, poisons, and magical pressure. So yeah, he might not have magic, but his new body is essentially an indestructible, hyper-agile tank. These are the wild new rules of his reality. If you keep lifting rocks, you'll probably grow taller too. Zad casually drops this line to Rio right after effortlessly dismantling some massive prison bully who tried to jump him. It's just so perfect because it captures his completely unbothered, ultra-confident attitude. I mean, despite being targeted by vicious inmates and the terrifying mage-hating Warden Clark, Zad isn't scared at all. Remember, he's an MMA champion. To him, these fantasy tough guys are just amateurs throwing wildly sloppy punches. Section 2. Brawn over Magic. MMA logic in a fantasy world. It is just so incredibly thrilling to watch how Zad applies modern combat sports logic to a world that relies entirely on standing back and casting spells from a distance. He doesn't need to stand there chanting incantations. He literally just needs to get his hands on you. Here's his playbook. Step 1, close the distance before the mage can even process what's happening. Step 2, bypass their magical defenses by simply dodging right past them or just shattering them. Step 3, strike with that level 100 maxed out strength. Bam! His 40 years of elite hand-to-hand combat experience completely shatter the distance-based fighting rules of this world. The mages literally have no idea how to defend against a well-executed roundhouse kick or a perfectly timed right hook. But you know, it's not always a total walk in the park. His next big hurdle? 90%. So, after escaping the prison, Zod fights in an underground arena and goes up against this champion named Ikus. Now, Ikus is wearing this magical item called an Ogre Belt, and this thing reduces incoming physical damage by a staggering 90%. For a guy like Zod, who relies 100% on physical strikes, this is an absolute nightmare. It's his first real, legitimate challenge. But relying on that genius fight IQ, Zod doesn't panic. He simply targets the belt itself, unleashing a relentless barrage of precision strikes until the magical item shatters into pieces. Just brilliant. Section 3. The Lightning Awakening. The Prison Break. Now let's actually rewind a bit to how he got out of that prison in the first place, because the tension here gets so good. It escalates to a total boiling point when Warden Clark, who, by the way, is a retired, highly powerful 5-circuit knight, decides he's had absolutely enough of Zod's defiance. He decides to publicly execute our protagonist using this crushing, overwhelming magical aura that literally forces all the other guards in the room to their knees. Which naturally begs a massive question that keeps this recap narrative so completely hooked. How exactly does a zero-mana mage, a 15-year-old kid on paper, defeat a seasoned 5-circuit warden who is actively trying to crush him into the dirt? Simple. He doesn't use magic, he uses MMA. Remember that S-rank mental defense trait we talked about earlier? Well, it makes him completely 100% immune to the warden's magical pressure. So while the warden is standing there sweating, pouring all his energy into this invisible crushing force, Zod just casually walks right up to him and punches him right in the face. It's this hilariously satisfying twist that just completely humiliates the terrifying warden. The momentum of Zad's journey is just relentless. Defeating Warden Clark triggers a full-blown chaotic escape from Butcher Prison alongside his thief friend Rio, but the absolute peak of this arc happens shortly after they get out. Pushed to the absolute brink in combat, Zad finally breaks past his zero-mana curse. He feels this massive flood of endorphins hit his system, his mana gauge actually ticks above 0 for the first time, and he awakens the legendary lightning attribute. We're talking about a power so incredibly rare, it hasn't been seen in generations. But here's the catch. Just awakening it isn't enough. He actually needs to be able to use it. 5. That is the exact number of mana points Zod desperately needs to hit in order to unlock his ultimate lightning skill. Because his new body restricts his mana growth, he can't just naturally level up like everyone else. No, he has to go out and source incredibly rare, pure holy water to craft a specific elixir. This elixir forces his mana points to hit that magical number 5, proving that his strategic mind outside of the ring is just as sharp as his reflexes inside it. Section 4. Forging powerful alliances, building a team. So Zod is smart. He knows that raw physical power and a tiny bit of lightning magic won't be enough to survive the deadly politics of the Empire, especially with a massive bounty on his head now. So he leverages his newfound freedom to kick off this insanely rapid recruitment phase. First, he saves the life of Taurus Bahal, the heir to his family's greatest rival, basically turning a sworn enemy into a fiercely loyal friend. Then he tracks down Locto Sherville, a wanted fugitive who just so happens to be the world's greatest legendary blacksmith, so he can get his gear crafted. Next, he confronts Eddie, the absolute genius alley king of the underworld, to handle all his intelligence gathering. He even recruits the Kinzera, an entire family of master assassins, after effortlessly beating them in a street fight. It's amazing. He systematically covers every single one of his weaknesses by building an absolute powerhouse team. And the way he manages this network, it's done with absolute ruthless confidence. If you mess with me, you lose everything. This punchy one-liner he drops isn't just a threat. To Zod, it's a promise. He uses this incredibly unyielding negotiation tactic to establish a fully fledged detective agency with the Alley King, actually forcing the underworld boss to partner with him by offering the protection of the Arahan family's elite guards. Zod never really asks for help. He just creates these situations where people are practically begging to work with him. Section 5. Return to House Arahan, facing the Patriarch. So all of this intense preparation leads directly to one totally inevitable moment. Armed with his powerful new alliances and his lightning magic, Zod is formally summoned back to the notoriously ruthless House Arahan. Yep, the very same family that threw him into a literal dungeon to rot now suddenly wants him back, setting up this incredibly tense psychological standoff. On one side, you have Patriarch Xenodon Arahan, a terrifying, masterful ruler who literally killed his own siblings just to take the throne. And on the other side, Zod, the wildly unpredictable, lightning-wielding youngest son. Listen, Xenodon doesn't love Zod. He just sees Zod's new lightning power as a shiny new tool to exploit for the family's glory. And Zod knows it. It's this